So tilt it towards the door. Hang on. So this is like 29 3/4. This is like 29 even.
Oh my gosh.
I gotta take it apart. So before I deal with taking apart that piece of the booth so that I can get it out of my house and back into the shop, I'm gonna make some more trim for this project. In a previous video, I talked a little bit about the trim, and that's how I injured my finger. But I just keep running out of trim. So instead of just stopping and making trim as I need it, I'm just gonna make a whole bunch all at once. And that way I've got it when I need it and I don't have to keep interrupting my workflow to make more trim. So let's make some trim. So the other day I cut some extra pieces for these two sections of booth because the backside is gonna have a curve. This booth is gonna go up against a wall that has a slight curve to it. I brought the extra pieces into the family room to install it in here to save a little time in the shop. And of course, wouldn't you know, (29 3/4), 29 even. I gotta take it apart. When I went to take it out the door, it didn't fit. And it's kind of my own fault. I should have measured the door frame first. And I'm only off by like an inch. So I've got to disassemble a little bit of the back side of this booth so that we can get it out, so that I can get it back in, and then I can get it reassembled, and then I can move forward. Let's make out.
If I do it once, I do it again.
Now we're back in business.
Off camera, I glued up some panels that will serve as the seat backs. For the edges, I ripped one edge straight, and along the other edge, I ripped a 7-degree bevel. Since the seat back leans back 7 degrees, this rip is going to allow it to sit flush along the top of the booth. If you remember from a previous video, I'm using a section of plywood in the center. This will get covered with the cushion, so there's no sense in wasting any of the alder there. And to cut the ends to length, I used my newest and probably one of the most helpful tools in the shop.
top piece for one of the sections that I already built. Now, I need to make it on the other section, so first thing I have to do is rip down some wood, and I'm gonna domino it together, do a glue up for that. And while that's drying, I can work on the trim for the booth that's already out in the garage. Such a nice day outside. I should keep working. Now, assuming I don't forget, I'm gonna come back in a little while and scrape off all these glue dots. If I do it then, it's better than if I let it dry later and it gets all hard. So it's a lot easier to scrape off and leave less residue. That way it's just easier to clean up later. After I cleaned up the glue squeeze out and let it finish drying, I sent it through the planer a couple times to even things out before the second glue up. I did 2 glue ups because if I didn't, it would be too wide for my planer. While that dries, I'll jump over to the booth and attach some trim. Here's some more of those little inserts I talked about a couple videos back. This was one of those stupid little things that ended up being really tedious. But once I got going, I got into a groove and it wasn't very difficult, just time consuming. Now that these top panels are dry, I need to mark the ends where I need to trim off the excess and also transfer the backside curve line. I'll cut along the curve with my jigsaw just outside of my line. And I'll use my track saw right up to the line to trim off the ends. Then I can put the top panel in place and attach it with screws. So I just got the top piece secured to this section of the booth, and here's this curve. And I left it overhanging just a little bit because to make sure that I follow the exact curve that I created, I'm gonna use my router and do a flush trim all along that. So let me show you. Now it's flush trimmed and I can get back to mounting the decorative trim. feels good to have both of these sections done, well, for the most part. Here's the one that we just brought in. Here's the one that was already in here, and you can obviously see that this one's got finish on it. This one is unfinished. It's just been sanded. It's just been sanded, but it's cool because this is the first time I've really seen both of these things in here connected. Obviously, they're gonna get bolted together in the middle there, and there's a seam that I'm gonna cover up with some extra trim. So right here, you can see this seam, that'll get tightened up once these two pieces get bolted together, and then a piece of trim is gonna cover that and cover these screw holes. Same with right here, there's an extra piece of trim that's gonna cover all of these, and then also another piece of trim that's gonna go here, a little piece of trim that's gonna go here. The cushions are gonna obviously go right across the middle, and then down here at the chevron, there's gonna be a piece of trim that goes up and down right there. It might also be a little more obvious of the curve that's on the back side of this one as well. You can see it kind of goes right here. And that is gonna go up against the curved wall at the restaurant. And of course, there's gonna be another little piece of trim that goes along this edge up against the wall at the restaurant too. That way it can hide this uneven line because it's not perfect, I'm only human. So that's where I'm gonna leave you guys this time. I hope you are still enjoying watching this project come together. I've got a few more sections of booth to make, surprise, surprise, and I gotta work on these little bits of trim there to cover up those seams. If you liked the video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up, and if you aren't already a subscriber, of course, you know I'd love to have you. I'm gonna have some links down in the description to any of the tools or materials and stuff like that I used, and maybe you'll find that helpful if you're doing a similar project, or if you've got any projects coming up where you might need some of those things. So, as always, you guys, thanks for watching. You can also follow me on Instagram, @StuffSaidMakes. I'll see you next time.